Hi, Jim. Thank you for joining me today for our next installment of Transportation Matters with you, AASHTO Executive Director Jim Tymon.
Thanks, Maggie. Appreciate you having me.
Sure. There's a lot going on right now. It's hard to know where to start here. There's federal surface transportation reauthorization. We have busy construction season for state DOTs, our members. It's AASHTO meeting season. And lots of other things. So we'll kind of whittle it down here to the topics at hand. First up, the big news. As we know, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is set to expire at the end of September. Recently, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee led a marathon markup of the IIJA successor, the Build America 250 Act. Tell us a little bit about that bill and AASHTO's sentiments on it. How do we feel about it?
Well, you bring up a great point in that the IIJA is set to expire at the end of September. And really, for our members, I would say the number one legislative priority for them here in Washington, D.C., is making sure that Congress is able to enact a long-term surface transportation bill before the IIJA expires. So the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee held their markup just a few weeks ago, and that's a great first step in the process for us. So we're really looking forward to working with the House as they move that bill from committee to the House floor to really go through the legislative text with a fine-tooth comb, identify the things that state DOTs really like about the bill, and identify some areas maybe where there could be improvement, and work with committee staff and the members to see what we can do to continue to utilize the momentum that was generated from this markup so that things can move forward. Overall, it's a great starting point for the state DOTs. There is a real focus on formula funding back to the states, which has been our top priority as we talked about reauthorization. We want to make sure that states have a predictable stream of federal funding over the next 5 years so that they can program their pipeline of projects at the state level. When they know every year how much money they're going to be getting from the federal government, it really helps them plan the projects that they want to take on over the next 5 years. So the bill really does focus on putting funding through formulas to states, and that's a big victory for us at AASHTO and for the state DOTs. The bill also focuses on trying to find ways to improve project delivery.
Big emphasis area for our president.
Big emphasis area for Russell McMurray, who's our president this year, the commissioner of the Georgia DOT. And we think there's still areas where they can improve in that area. But overall, the fact that there is a focus on improving project delivery, that there is a bipartisan focus on it, that's progress for us. And we think that we can work with the committee and with House members as the bill moves to the floor to maybe even find some additional places to improve project delivery. We want to make sure that the dollars that we're putting in these projects are used as efficiently as possible. And when we're able to speed up the delivery of these projects, they end up costing less. Mm-hmm. Every year that a project kind of sits on the shelf and isn't moving, it's going to cost more. So if we can find ways to streamline the project delivery process, yet still safeguard the environment and make sure we're getting input from the community, but doing that just on an expedited basis, on an expedited process, we think that we can save money and deliver projects quicker.
And in a time where money is hard to come by, that's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're heading into a busy summer season. Obviously, Congress has a lot they want to get done before they go into recess. It's also a midterm year, midterm election year. That could complicate things. What are the next steps towards reauthorization? What are we really looking at moving forward?
Sure. So on the House side, they're through the committee process. This is great. Now they're looking for floor time. We're hoping that before they recess for August, that they're able to move that bill to the House floor.
I saw we just signed on to a letter to urge that action.
Yes, we signed on to a letter with a lot of our other industry partners to encourage the Speaker and the Minority Leader to be able to move the bill to the floor. One important step to the process that hasn't occurred yet on the House side is the House Ways and Means Committee does need to put together the tax title for the bill, which would be merged with the T&I committee version of the bill and a few other odds and ends from other committees. But we're waiting on Ways and Means to be able to put forward the tax title of the bill. But the other part of the process is the Senate, right? And if you had asked me 3 or 4 months ago, I would have said the Senate is maybe slightly ahead of the House and from a process standpoint. But now the House has pulled ahead of the Senate. So we're really, looking forward to see what the Senate puts forward. I know that they are working with the different committees over there, the Senate EPW Committee, the Senate Commerce Committee, the Senate Banking Committee, Senate Finance Committee, are all working together to try to come up with legislative text to be able to move forward. And it would be great to see them start that committee process sometime this summer, because if they start to do that, there's a real chance that we can get something done this calendar year.
One of the big things that we talk about with every reauthorization is how do we pay for this? Where does the money come from? Obviously, the Highway Trust Fund is something that we are continuously looking at, plays a big, huge role here. And a lot of conversations around the Highway Trust Fund, especially when people bring up things like a gas tax holiday, the possibilities of that. Can you talk a little bit about the Highway Trust Fund, how it works, and what we need to consider when we're thinking of a reauthorization?
Sure. So, the Highway Trust Fund was created back in the 1950s. Predominantly to fund the construction of the interstate highway system. And it's really been the foundational funding source for the federal surface transportation program since then. It's funded through a variety of revenue sources, but the majority of the revenue going into the Highway Trust Fund comes from a federal tax on gasoline or diesel fuel. So those are the primary funding sources. Those rates haven't changed since 1993, which has really kind of diminished the purchasing power of those revenue sources. If you haven't increased something since 1993, you're not going to be able to buy the same amount with it.
You can't think of the cost of anything that hasn't increased.
Exactly. That's a very good point. Now, Congress has still continued to invest at higher levels even since 1993 than they were back then, but the revenue sources haven't kept up. And as a result, we've been spending more from the Highway Trust Fund than we're bringing in revenue. And this goes all the way back to the early 2000s. Starting in 2008, we've had to transfer funding from the general fund, where kind of your general tax revenue goes into at the federal level, to the Highway Trust Fund to keep it solvent. It is this imbalance of kind of spending versus revenue, and it'll be interesting to see how Congress addresses this moving forward. So we're starting to get into some really big numbers here of transfers from the general fund to the Highway Trust Fund.
Money. Yes. I want to shift now to another topic geared at the future of our industry. When we talk about these big federal surface reauthorization bills, we're also looking at workforce, right? What are we looking at? AASHTO and many partner associations have talked a lot about seeing the changing dynamics of the transportation workforce. What are you seeing?
Look, workforce is a huge issue for our industry in general, and certainly for state DOTs. And whether it's recruitment and retention, or how are we better utilizing technology to be able to improve efficiencies and kind of maximize the workforce that we have, there are a lot of challenges out there that state DOTs are working through, and that AASHTO is trying to help them work through. We have a very robust committee structure at AASHTO, and we have 3 committees in particular that I think are focused on the workforce issues. So we have a knowledge management committee that was created about 10 years ago, and that committee is focused on how can we identify kind of the knowledge that some of these career state DOT folks that have been in their positions for 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, how can we get that knowledge that they have and capture it and make sure that we're able to pass that on to their successors? We're seeing a lot of retirements within the industry. We don't want to see that knowledge walk out the door when a 30-year employee decides to retire. So we want to find ways to make sure that we're passing that knowledge on to their successors. And the Committee on Knowledge Management is really focused on how can we identify best practices to do that. We have a Committee on Agency Administration that's focused on a lot of those big picture workforce issues. How can we attract more people into the industry as a whole? And we have a Committee on Human Resources that's really focused on more of that day-to-day workforce issues. So focusing on recruitment and retention. What are the best practices out there within the state DOT community in those areas. And I think that, they do a great job in doing that. It's really a core function of what we do at AASHTO, trying to bring together state DOT experts in all these different areas so that they can exchange what's working in their state with the hopes that another state sees something that they could adopt back in their home state.
The whole rip off and duplicate.
Absolutely,
idea.
yes.
And we also have some technical service programs.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We have two in particular that I would say are workforce related. One of them is our STEM Outreach Solutions program, which really focuses, it's an education program where kind of state DOTs and AASHTO are partnering with schools to make sure that we're encouraging kids to get into STEM careers. And one of the ways that we do this is we host a great event as part of our spring meeting every year, which is a bridge building event. And we bring high school and middle school students in from around the country to be able to give presentations to engineers in the field and to be able to essentially show off model bridges that they've built. And it's just a great opportunity for us to be able to showcase what we hope are kind of these up and coming engineers that we would love to be able to see kind of in the state DOT community in the future.
Yeah.
Another technical service program that we operate here at AASHTO that's been great for us is our technical training solutions program. And it is essentially an e-learning platform that we operate. We have hundreds of different courses out there for state DOT employees to be able to take on the construction and maintenance side, the engineering side, but also on the communications side. We've got communications courses. We have human resource courses. We have ethics courses. Mm-hmm. So really just about anything that you can think of within the state DOT community, we have some type of e-learning course for you as part of that program. And it's really been growing significantly over the last 10 years. We saw a huge amount of growth during COVID when folks weren't able to get out there and do much. There was an opportunity for them to be able to use the e-learning platform through AASHTO's Technical Training Solutions program to be able to further their professional development.
And earn those professional development hours,
Absolutely.
which so many engineers
Yes.
need.
Yes.
And during COVID, like you said, fewer opportunities to do that.
Yes.
The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on, I mentioned AASHTO's busy meeting season, but we are involved, our members are involved in a lot of different partner organizations as well. We're coming off the heels of some of those meetings. I kind of wanted to ask you, what does AASHTO get out of these partnerships with other organizations, attending meetings, having that relationship? What do our members get out of something like that?
Well, we're always looking for opportunities to partner with other organizations, in our industry. We just wrapped up a meeting last week with the ITS America had their annual meeting out in Detroit. We saw a lot of state DOT participants out there, a lot of the industry also participating, as well as local governments. And it's just a great opportunity for us to get out there and meet with different people within the industry about how we can better leverage technology to do the work that we're doing. We've seen a great partnership with USDOT in this area as well, finding ways to highlight innovation and technology to be able to accomplish a lot of our transportation goals. A big focus also on safety. Mm-hmm. How can we essentially incorporate technology into the work that we're doing, into our transportation infrastructure to make it safer? We all want to see fewer fatalities on our nation's roadways, and we'd love to be able to get to zero fatalities. The only way we're going to get to zero is to be able to better utilize the technology that we have out there to be able to drive those numbers down. We've seen great progress over the last few years in reducing the number of fatalities and injuries on our nation's roadways, but the more that we're able to incorporate technology into our transportation system, we're going to continue to see those numbers drive down. So, that's another thing that we were able to do last week, and is trying to work with the industry and some of our local partners to figure out what technology solutions are out there that are helping us improve the transportation system as a whole. A few weeks ago, we participated in WTS International Conference out in LA. Great opportunity to be able to highlight some of our leaders within the transportation industry that are women. We have a record number of women state DOT CEOs right now. I think it's at 17. And we're able to go out there and have a couple of panels where we're able to highlight their career trajectory. Really, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to highlight that and hopefully inspire others to be able to, stay within or come into the state DOT community to see that there is the opportunity to reach those highest levels and to be able to have a huge impact on, their states, their communities, the country as a whole.
All right. Well, I think, like I said, busy summer season. We're going to have a lot to talk about when we meet again. So thanks for coming, Jim. Thanks for chatting with me. And we will talk again soon on our next Transportation Matters with Jim Tymon.
Great. Thanks, Maggie.